Rakhi Sawant is current affair now. Anybody on Big Boss is current affair. Somebody said something stupid is current affair. Debauchery happened with the channel when we were at 900,000 subscribers. And we just had the channel taken away from us because we were friends doing things. So the idea that paperwork got in the way of suddenly having a property which is successful. Like now, even if we reach 1 million subscribers, I still feel Kautuk, Neville, me, Varun will still not have this kind of stupidity as far as, I have contributed more, you have contributed. No, because all of us were working our asses off. You can say so much if the tune is nice. And that now I understand Badshah and Yo-Yo Honey Singh's entire business model. You can say whatever as long as people are bobbing their head to it. Oh my God, how did this child jump into this pile of shit to get an autograph from Amitabh Bachchan?
Something that even I was noticing पिछले 1 साल से, I would say, that a lot of comics and big name comics, they have sort of ditched the streaming special का model and they are now self-releasing their specials on YouTube.
Yeah.
So ये क्या हो रहा है, मतलब why is this happening and why is this industry-wide shift happening?
The thing with Amazon was they were going to keep it for 1 year and then it was going to come back to our YouTube channel. So whatever money we were paid for the special, we blew it. I blew it all off on the shooting. So I made zero for shooting it and putting it up on Amazon. We've not been able to shoot. So normally we have like 3 episodes in the pipeline. This time we have nothing in the pipeline. One, because Neville has broken his laptop. So he is the only one with the Zoom account that it doesn't shut off in 45 minutes. So we're waiting for him to buy a new laptop.
Hello and welcome to Do I Like It, a show जहां हम हर बात पे बात करते हैं. It's the World After Day and with this episode we are starting a new mini series called Knock Knock Who's There, जहां पे हम कुछ जबरदस्त comedian से बात करेंगे about their writing process, their influences and how they are navigating the funny business in 2024. My guest for today's episode is a comedian whose voice really stands out in this Indian stand-up comedy scene. नहीं, मतलब ऐसी कोई deep philosophical बात नहीं है. The guy sings really well. I'm of course talking about the actor, comedian and 1/4 of the podcast The Internet Said So, Aadar Malik. Hello Aadar, hello, welcome to the Quint. How are you doing?
Hi, all good. How are you?
I'm good. How's London?
London is fun. I'm almost done filming a TV show here and then I'll be running back to India for a while to tour with all the guys and yeah, that should be fun.
Nice. Well, how's the climate like in London? मैंने सुना है मतलब heat wave वगैरह आ जाती है यार वहाँ पे.
नहीं, कुछ नहीं. They over exaggerate the heat wave. Their heat wave is our December. So let's in Mumbai. So let's calm down about their heat waves. But yeah, it does get hot for them, I think. But abhi to apparently we've got the Arctic chill or something. So it's just the weirdest spring. It's just become like, it's springtime. Now just unzip your jacket.
Which is like Bombay throughout the winters.
Yeah. Bombay, if you're wearing jacket during the winter, it's just like, you've just chosen to sweat in the 1 month that you wouldn't sweat.
Yeah. So I am from Delhi and Noida. So every time it gets too cold here, I try and go to Bombay. Because I'm like, chalo, हाँ, जिंदा रह सकते हैं. It's the best thing. Nice.
Bangalore would be better.
हाँ, Bangalore is like a middle place.
If you don't like water, if you can if you can go without water, then Bangalore weather is great.
But last time that I visited Bombay, there were some water problems in Bombay as well, dude.
Yeah. So
Mud
it's been happening.
There were. And by the way, thanks to your show, I have seen Gokhale Bridge finally.
Oh my God, yeah. I'm regretting crossing that bridge because it was so good at one point that like I could reach the airport at 5 o'clock in the morning in 20 minutes. And now even at 5, it's like, this is a 1 hour journey. You have to plan that out because something might go wrong. You're going through different lanes and this and that. And it's just like, that bridge going has been the bane of everybody's existence in Andheri.
But it's a new tourist destination. Like I landed in Bombay and the first thing I told my sister is, मेरे को Gokhale Bridge दिखाओ. Nice. So all of the Chowpatty, Gateway of India, all of that is boring now. Okay, so I want to first of all start with you only. कि हाँ you ही only और कोई है भी नहीं यहाँ पे. But I want to start with what was the first time you sort of realized that you are funny? You do realize you are funny, no?
Yeah, but it was like so in a personal like in a social setting, I'm never really that much fun. I think even in a social setting now, I switch on the comedian to be funny. Otherwise, it's like in a normal setting, it's like a lot of my friends, like my wife's friends and all, they didn't assume that I was a comedian before I actually like, oh, this is my show, come watch the show. So it's a thing that you switch on. But otherwise, that's why I think all of us manage to be closer to each other in a social setting. Like if there is another comedian, I'll go like try to gravitate towards that comedian, because it's like both of us don't need to be funny at this point.
Funny.
So it's just,
and everybody
yeah, so-
else is expecting you all to be funny all the time, so you guys can
Yeah.
be bro safe space.
And then there's
hai ye.
judgment. Yeah, there's judgment based on the fact that, oh, this was, why didn't, if you crack a crappy joke, but like with comedians, it's like you crack a crappy joke, it's like, see what you did. There's appreciation and there's like, good. Kyun kiya tune? I know what went through your brain and why you had to do what you did at that.
Do you have like a template joke for every time somebody says कि कोई joke सुना you're a comedian?
No, I've just stopped bothering. It's just, theek hai. I'm not going to tell you a joke. Then I definitely won't. Like if somebody puts pressure on you, otherwise I'm not like obligated to make you laugh in a social setting.
Yeah.
But
do you like
on stage,
take out your QR code कि हाँ क्यों एक joke का
nahi,
इतना
nahi.
पैसा?
Nahi, I just don't. I don't bother with that only. Like honestly, people who don't put pressure on you, you want to make them laugh. You want to really like on stage. There's that obligation, and you want to stick to that obligation as much as possible, because ultimately it's not like the whole concept of, oh, this joke is for me. No, there's no joke for you. You're standing in front of a crowd. Every joke is for them. So if it's not working, then you go back and whatever, you hate yourself and you go back and you rewrite over and over and over again to the point where it's like, oh, it's funny for everybody in the crowd, and still there'll be people who won't like it. So it's fine. That you have to make do with. It's like most of the people that you wanted to get the reaction out of, you got.
And I'm assuming music would have entered your life much before comedy, right? Since
way before.
family.
Since I was 6 or 7 years old. So professionally trained at music to the point where I wanted to compose for the longest time, and then it was like, oh, this equipment is too expensive, and I didn't have the the ability to ask my father for the money to invest that amount into, because that's the only way you can actually produce music. So it was, I remember like Amal and Arman's dad just like getting all that stuff together, and it was a tough journey to get to the point, because you gotta really dump a lot of money into it, and the returns are not good for the first 5 years or something.
So how did you guys back in the day reach your audiences when you guys must be doing open mics? Because comedy का scene तो तब था ही नहीं ना, तो how did you guys convince people कि हम funny है?
नहीं, YouTube से ही हुआ सब. Everything changed with YouTube. In fact, a lot of American comedians attributed to Indians, because Indian comedians were the first ones to start dumping stand-up on YouTube over and over and over again. But the thing with Americans is that, oh, once they understand the format, then all of them go crazy doing it. So I think there's a larger population of comedians जो stand up अभी YouTube पे डाल रहे हैं, and I think they have, crowd work is something that they figured out in a bigger way than us. But then there's people like Gujral who have been doing it for a very long time. So it's like it's got its own genres now. So it's like sketch is gone. Sketches are gone, which is what we used to do.
And
Sketches
initially sketches were the ones that used to be like आप लोग, SnG, AIB, East India Comedy, all of you guys have been doing sketches for the longest time, right? So why do you think that has sort of not in the
budgets,
background.
it just changed completely. I would rather, like, if you want to do a sketch, I'm writing a sketch, then I'll shoot it by myself in my house. It'll be silly
Yeah.
things that you will do. Also, you don't want it to go exceed a minute. You want to get to the point of the sketch in the first 10 to 12 seconds, which was not the case earlier. You could have a slow burn. Your influences with sketches of Monty Python. It was that kind of there was a cold open to a sketch. That's not there anymore. You have to get into the meat immediately. So that's like,
So
and
sketch has
aisa
been
nahi hai.
replaced by the reel आज का,
By the
essentially.
reel in a way, and it's to a degree where it's like that's where sketch resides now. And there are sketch performers, and stand up is completely different now. And stand up itself has so many things. And I think Comicstan segregated that very well with, this is observational comedy, this is
Yeah.
character based, and so that really formalized it, which was fantastic.
So talking about your comedy, how did you sort of blend music and comedy together? Since music was essentially your first love, तो वो कैसे blend हुआ?
I was acting, and then stand up. Stand up में basically you get to stand on stage for half an hour without anybody interrupting you. So it was like, oh, as an actor, this is a huge thing. You can invite people to shows and ask them to watch you perform, and that was it. We didn't expect to make a living out of it. And then I was doing improv in Lok ke saath Varun or Bridge and Neville, and tabhi. I think I started to think I am an improviser, and then it's like, oh, I want to be like there's Tina Fey, there's Amy Poehler, there's Seth Meyers, and all these guys are improvisers. They're not stand-up comedians, and it's okay. So it's like, oh, this is a good thing because I have a theater background. These people end up doing improv over stand-up. So I was about to give up, and then Varun Thakur basically told me that because we used to do songs in sketches. तो वरुण ने बोला कि एक बार स्टैंड अप में गाना करना, जस्ट कम फॉर वन वीकेंड दैट आई एम डूइंग शोज एंड जस्ट कम 15 मिनट्स, like do 15 minutes before I go on stage. It's like, okay, let me figure this. And I wrote 2-3 songs and I went on stage, and then suddenly I went from, oh, this is what I do in stand up, and that changed. And also the improv had changed me as a stand up comedian, because when I was doing improv I wasn't doing as much stand-up, and when I came back on stage doing stand-up, the way I had a better control on what I wanted to be on stage, and also crowd work, that changed completely. क्योंकि improv में तो तुम सीधा बात कर रहे हो ऑडियंस से, तुमको कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा है, and your brain is working at another pace altogether. So that changed, and then that's when I started doing music, because Thakur asked me to write 2 songs.
So was She Called Me Bhaiya your first song, or उससे पहले what did you write? Because that was the song that made you blow up, right?
So I wrote, I wrote. There was this one song called BMC. BMC, You Screwed Me.
You Screwed Me.
Which is basically came from like, oh, Gokhale. That was when Gokhale flyover was being constructed. So it was horrible for us, क्योंकि फिर झू गली बंद हो गया था. So that's when that song came through. And then I think I wrote Bhaiya, Oh My Goat, and there was another song. I think I wrote Are You Straight, Gay, Lesbian, or Bi? And that kind of became the first set. And then after that, like a bunch of other songs started happening.
And how long before it was from when you dropped it on Amazon? You dropped the first special with all of these songs, right? So how long before that were these songs made?
2 or 3 years. 2 years maybe. उसके बाद, but like Bhaiya and all weren't there. Bhaiya was as a sketch on that was the first video we put out on the SnG channel. So that was the first song. We were shooting a sketch show. We were trying to do like not like a Great Indian Comedy show. You remember the Great Indian Comedy shows? There were some sketches, Ranveer Shori, Vinay Pathak and all.
Yeah.
And so we were trying to do that for ourselves. We had self-produced something, and it didn't end up being as good. Like as far as the production was concerned, we didn't enjoy what was happening, and we tried our best to make, like, we knew, like, we shot the sketches, but it was like hell to shoot all of them in 2 days.
Yeah.
That was impossible, and it's like this is not a sustainable model for us, because in order to justify the sets and the money that the producers were putting in to make that pilot, we had to shoot everything at a breakneck pace, and that meant that we were sacrificing the ability to improvise, to spend time with the comedy, to spend time with the extra, like the supporting actors and things like that. So वो चला जा रहा था, and we were like, this is not going to be sustainable. And that's when, like, we were in the car and going back from the set. I was like, let's just shoot this bloody song, get friends who are good DOPs and things like that, and cash in favors, and we just shot the song and put it up. But that's the problem. It's just so many favors you can cash in. उसके बाद खत्म हो जाता है. Then after that, people are also like, no, I need to be paid. So then it just sketches just completely.
And especially when the first song blows up, you want to sort
and
of.
it's like you're assuming that you're making a lot of money. That's not the case. We burnt all of our money. Like the first comedy special that we made, the thing with Amazon was they were going to keep it for 1 year, and then it was going to come back to our YouTube channel. So whatever money we were paid for the special, we blew it. I blew it all off on the shooting. So I made zero for shooting it and putting it up on Amazon. Until the perpetuity deals came in later on, and then they were kept there for, then you made some money. But it's like, up till that point, you've basically said that I'm just going to shoot it well, and I make zero, they keep it for a year, and then after that, it comes back to my YouTube channel, and then again it's like, kya pata chale na chale, but you've made zero by shooting a special and sharing it.
And had monetization started on YouTube by then?
Chal raha tha. It was okay. But yeah, I think we're still understanding how the monetization now is much better. Super chats are much better. So we are also sometimes surprised when we do a live, log super chat bhejte rehte hain, and like, different places, and that's when we are like, oh, this is a big amount to make in 2 hours of talking on screen.
What's the weirdest place you've gotten a super chat from?
I think we got some in Kronos once. A lot of Kronos. Someone sent like 100 Kronos. It was like, and then we on a live we were trying to understand, because none of us knew the conversion rate. तो हम लोग बैठ के conversion rate ढूंढ रहे हैं 100 Kronos, and we're like, oh, this is way too much. Who is this person? And क्यों भेजा है तूने इतना पैसा? So it was that. It's like, oh, this person is like, oh no, the tickets I will never buy. Yeah, because I don't think we'll end up going there for a while.
Nice. So in stand-up comedy, there's this very basic rule of stand-up and setup and punchline, right? But when you're doing musical comedy, how do you deliver the joke? Because usme to it's all happening on a beat, on a rhythm, right? So usme setup or punchline kaise figure out karte ho?
It's similar. You're setting up, you're giving the punchline, but there's a lot of misdirection. The biggest laugh in a song you will get from the misdirection of messing with genre. So romantic गाना कर रहे हो, but the goat song is this cute, mountain countryside, song, and it just turns into like also Sutta. I love the Sutta song because I did a parody on the Sutta song, and it was all about not smoking and like what happens, and it's just this sweet tune, but it ends up as this horror show of what the lyrics actually are.
Cancer हो गया, सब कुछ मतलब मर गया.
But the thing is, I realize that you can say so much if the tune is nice, and that's that. Now I understand Badshah and Yo-Yo Honey Singh's entire business model. You can say whatever as long as people are bobbing their head to it.
Yeah, nice. And this is something that I've always wanted to ask comedians, especially post-pandemic. एक तो जब जियो ने इंटरनेट सॉर्ट ऑफ डेमोक्रेटाइज और फ्री किया था, तब एक बहुत बड़ा बूम आया था, एंड देन पैंडेमिक के बाद देयर वाज अ ह्यूज बूम ऑन यूट्यूब, राइट? सो व्हाट डू यू थिंक हैड अ बिगर इम्पैक्ट ऑन द होल स्टैंड अप एटमॉस्फेयर?
When everybody got a phone and internet connection in their hand, it just changed, because overnight the language changed. I didn't realize what was happening. मैं हिंदी में परफॉर्म करना शुरू कर दिया था मैंने, because क्या हुआ था, the inquiries for corporate shows, this started happening, then automatically I switched to a bilingual set, To the point now, I am the new special that I am touring and I'm performing. That 1.5 hour is so English. I had to sit down, and I had so many friends coming in who are like English speakers. I had to sit down and rework the entire set, and it did the set better. It actually made it better because now I'm trying to look for references in places that मैंने कभी सोचा नहीं था. क्योंकि if I say Amitabh Bachchan, you know who Amitabh Bachchan is. Now I have to explain who Amitabh Bachchan is. So then I go into 4 more jokes about Slumdog Millionaire to explain why Amitabh Bachchan is as great as he is. Like you watched that child, वो जमाल कूदा था टट्टी में, and you were like, oh my god, how did this child jump into this pile of shit to get an autograph from Amitabh Bachchan? When we watched it, we were like, huh, this sounds right.
We know people who have done worse.
Yeah, this looks right. People would do this to get an autograph from Amitabh Bachchan. So it was that. It's just then you start reworking things to make it accessible to an English speaking audience who don't have that idea. And like Amrish Puri, we know what Amrish Puri is immediately. Now I have to explain to them what Amrish Puri is from the lens of Indiana Jones. It's like that's where you would know it from, and they do know him because they just don't know how great he is for us as an actor.
Yeah.
So those little things.
Interesting. So, how has YouTube been a part of, in general, the stand-up comedy scene? Because I think there was a stand-up world pre-YouTube, and now there is a stand-up world in the YouTube era. Because pehle there was, I remember Delhi mein there was one Canvas Laugh Club hota tha, and Bombay mein I think ek hota hoga. And right from the language, from the kind of diverse voices that have come out, so what has that shift been like post YouTube?
So YouTube had that moment where Hindi versus English had happened, and then Hindi completely took over, and that is a fact because when I started doing little tiny sketches, Hindi में मैंने करना शुरू कर दिया था Instagram पे. मैं बैठ के खाना बना रहा था लॉकडाउन में, and I was like, okay, now I'm going to just stick to Hindi for these sketches. And it changed everything completely because it's like, oh, now this axis is, so now I'm this weird where there are certain IPs on, I don't know if you can call it something on Instagram, IPs, but
Instagram
certain
property.
things में great. तो कुछ चीजें मैं इंस्टाग्राम पे खाली इंग्लिश में कर रहा हूँ और कुछ चीजें इंस्टाग्राम पे खाली हिंदी में है. लाइक दैट आई वांट टू मेक फूड अगेन, बट आई नो फॉर अ फैक्ट के समटाइम्स पीपल गो कि कैन यू मेक दिस फूड इन इंग्लिश, एंड आई हैव टू रीवर्क द होल थिंग. इट्स लाइक आई एम एवरी टाइम आई एम शूटिंग माई सेल्फ कुकिंग नाउ, वो हिंदी ही निकल रही है मुंह से बिकॉज वो आदत पड़ गई है कि दैट इज दिस वियर्ड कैरेक्टर, दिस गाय हु इज बोर्ड एंड ट्राइंग टू कुक इन हिज हाउस, व्हिच इज मोस्ट ऑफ अस जस्ट बोर्ड. वी आर नॉट culinary geniuses all of us. तो उसके बाद it's just become difficult for that thing to be in English. So similarly, I think the sheer number of people that are watching Hindi content is just changed overnight. Versus the Bombay, Bangalore, Chennai, the massive stand-up consuming audience that we have, the 4 or 5 metros that we perform in, that is your English-speaking audience. But now you realize that even in Hyderabad, people want to come and listen to Hindi comedy.
Interesting. So talking about YouTube, मैंने अभी एक वीडियो बनाई थी which was something that even I was noticing पिछले 1 साल से, I would say, that a lot of comics and big name comics, they have sort of ditched the streaming special का model and they are now self-releasing their specials on YouTube.
Yeah.
So ये क्या हो रहा है, मतलब why is this happening and why is this industry-wide shift happening?
So for Americans, it is making more money. It is definitely, I think the one who made it made a bunch of money after rebuying his special from, it was this guy called Andrew Schultz.
Andrew Schultz, yeah.
But again, वो podcast वाला चक्कर है where his podcast audience is cultivated to a point where it's like, अच्छा ये देखो, ये देख लो. And everybody was ready to pay that $10, which is the price, half the price of a regular ticket. Your basic ticket for a comedy show would be $20, $21, or $25 or $30 for a back row ticket for a comedian like this guy. तो now when you're putting that up on his own platform, not even YouTube, he was putting it on his website, which I think only Daniel has done. No, Daniel ne bhi I think YouTube pe dala. I don't know what Daniel
Kanan
did.
did it on Paytm, on Insider.
Basically. So Kanan did more what this guy had done. So for somebody like Schultz or Kanan also, you end up possibly making more money in longevity over time than you would on a streaming platform. But also, if you put it on YouTube and have the paywall, it's first of all, you're cultivating that audience better. Like if you've got an audience that has been setting for like even like now, even I would consider putting it up on YouTube because it's like, अरे यार हमारा podcast की audience है, everything is happening, so why not just give it to them on the same exact platform? You might make a little less money in my case, or like a lot of other comedians who are doing it like me, but like it's better because you're getting more eyeballs. It's easier for me to ask my friends who are bigger comedians who are have got a larger audience to share something that is a YouTube link than something to my website.
So this current show that you're touring, is that like, do you have any plans to record it? Maybe put it up anytime soon?
No, not for the next 2 years. I want to like really enjoy it, and coming back to India, I'll probably shoot a lot of crowd work, interesting stuff, small songs, sketches. But like, I don't think I'll put up a special for a while because I think that is also something that everybody is now getting into, where it's like you shoot, don't take stand up as content, which is regular content.
Okay.
You shoot current affair jokes like I think Bulla has been doing it. Sahil Shah has been doing a lot of stuff that are that's like current affair jokes, which is the jokes that will die in a month because you will forget about the news. So do those, shoot those, write that bit, write 4 jokes, shoot it, put it up. But keep your special as a baby that you're cultivating. Let it become something. And then, once you're done sharing so many of these other pieces of content, then that becomes the special thing for you to come, because then it's like nobody's seen this.
About your podcast, dude, where did you start? Because I think you guys are one of the biggest comedy podcasts in India and podcasts in India in general. So वो कहाँ से start हुआ out of nowhere?
एक कौतुक का आइडिया था because Bridge always wanted us to do a podcast. Bridge Bhakta, who headed the improv team, SnG improv team, and I think then like he wanted to do a podcast. We wanted to figure out what we could do, and then sadly Bridge had to leave because his mom got ill, so he left for America. So then after that वो वहाँ पे रह गया, and Kautuk at some point later had an idea that sketches are too expensive. Stand-up is unsustainable if you're trying to do it like a weekly release. No human being can write that amount of stand-up unless you're doing current affairs, which none of us were really. All of us were wary of doing current affairs.
और अब तो कर भी नहीं सकते current affairs इतने.
No, but that's the thing. Like current affairs is now, because everybody has access to the internet. There is current affairs where Rakhi Sawant is current affair now. Anybody on Big Boss is current affairs. Somebody said something stupid is current affairs because somebody does something stupid is not going to end up on national news, but now it does. तो अभी वो हो सकता है, but like at that time Kautuk was like, okay, this is not sustainable. So Kautuk came up with the idea, the title called The Big Question. So every episode is a new question, and that's where it kind of started. And then the debauchery happened with the channel when we were at 900,000 subscribers, and we just had the channel taken away from us. So we had to start from scratch, and at that point I think I had like 100,000 subscribers. Varun had 180 or 200,000 on our personal YouTube channels, which we wouldn't bother with. I just kept some songs and things like that. तो उसमें से तो ऐसे का अच्छा इसके ज़्यादा है, चलो इसके चैनल पे डाल रहे. तो that's how convenient it was for us, which and it still is not a very complicated thing for us because we know how we're functioning, and so it was just weird that all this because we were friends doing things. So the idea that paperwork got in the way of suddenly having a property which is successful. Like now, even if we reach 1 million subscribers, I still feel Kautuk, Neville, me, Varun, will still not have this kind of stupidity as far as, oh, I have contributed more, you have contributed. No, because all of us were working our asses off. When I was studying, I decided to do my bachelor's, my master's. They picked up the slack and they were like, no, you go do it. We'll handle it for a year. So, those are things that you feel indebted to, because at that time you're still trying to make it. And so now this one is called The Internet Said So. So it's just all the random facts that we can find on the internet. And now there's a live show, which is a special live show. So now this is an uncensored live show that we're doing, which is stuff that you will never hear on the podcast. So it's all taboo topics, all stuff that will make people like scared to, share something on social media. And it's the point where it's like, you take your phone out, you will get into trouble as much as we will. So it's better not to shoot any part of our live show.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. Like, we've got our regular content going, but now there's this special live show that is only accessible if you buy a ticket and watch us live.
Yeah.
So that's where the podcast is now getting into a place where that's where the idea for stand-up specials is also coming. Oh, you put out other content and then your special is something truly special. But yeah, that's where the idea kind of came in, and it's like, okay, what is the most regenerative idea that we can come up with? The big question was very easy, new questions every time. And then Internet Said So is just random things that you can find. So it's like infinite, because it's after a while you're just losing track of how many personal stories you shared and things like that, where you like, khatam ho gaya hai, main kya bolu.
And do you guys like reference stuff from the podcast in your live shows, like monkey facts and all? Tum log kuch karte ho?
Only in the TIS live show.
Only
will that happen. Like, rarely will I try to refer. Like, also the audience is coming from a lot of the audience comes from the podcast. Exactly. So I think the one thing that they like is that if I do crowd work and I'm talking to them about it, and sometimes the podcast comes up, so at that time you just say thank you and move on to the jokes, because what will you say about the podcast that one person has a special experience, but then there are 90 other people who don't really know. So it's like, you've come for the jokes, so it's stand up that you've come for, and that's something we can talk about after the show. Unless it's TIS Live, which is very different.
And what about the podcast? What are some episodes that are in the pipeline?
We've not been able to shoot. So normally we have like 3 episodes in the pipeline. This time we have nothing in the pipeline. One, because Neville has broken his laptop. So he is the only one with the Zoom account that it doesn't shut off in 45 minutes. So we're waiting for him to buy a new laptop so that...
Do you want the login credentials of my Zoom?
Of this one? Yeah, that'll work really well. वो हो जाएगा, but also because he saves it all on his laptop, na? So that's like he has to save it high res, and we make some edits, because किसी के मुंह से कुछ ना कुछ तो बकवास निकल ही जाता है, that has to be edited at some point. And but then this time we have nothing, because these guys are also touring, so the live show is happening. So all of us are writing the live show, because it's not complete, because now I am joining in. So now it's like, how do I fit in? Because now the show has been running for like 3-4 shows and it's doing well. But now it's like, oh, there's a bunch of music that has to come in. So how do we kind of...
So wait, it's not a TIS live show. It's a pre-written show.
Yes, it's like TIS. It's exactly like TIS, except the jokes are very like, oh, you're expecting, oh, this is the topic we started. Or we're talking about sex for some reason. So we're talking about sex. So it's like, these are things that you found on the internet, but the jokes are planned out. And then the stuff that happens on stage. So it's like stand up. You're watching something that we are trying to get razor sharp by the end of it. And I don't think it'll ever release. The show in its career, it cannot be released. But yeah, that's the point. That's the point of the live show, that you're coming into a safe space to laugh about silly, stupid things and stuff that you read on the internet.
And what cities are you touring with this?
Right now, I think the boys are in Bangalore. I think they are. No, wait. No. They're going to Bangalore on the 18th and 19th, I think. Yeah, 18th they're in Bangalore, 19th they're in Pune. And then post that we're doing like that's when I'll join them, and then we'll be doing like a bunch more shows all over. So that tour will keep going because at a time I think they're selling 100 or 200 tickets, which is not.
Yeah.
We can keep doing that because we are not trying to do the 600 seaters. We're not trying to do that. We're trying to keep it tight, and that way we can keep going to the cities over and over again.
Nice. Thanks a lot, Aadar. Thanks a lot for this chat. All the best for your TV show and for the TIS Live show.
Thanks, man. Thank you so much.
Thank
Looking
you.
forward to
Thanks a
coming
lot.
to India again.